Hi, everyone, and welcome to Unleash. Today, I am super excited. I am, in fact, waiting for Nada to return. She's busy traveling all over, and she's from the wellness industry, and she has a huge and beautiful expertise on how that we can heal ourselves. She is going to be talking all about her knowledge and her background, and I would like Nada to introduce herself. Nada, welcome to the show, and how are you today?
Thank you, Samira, for having me. I'm good. Thank you for hosting me in your beautiful space. It's very nice to be here in Dubai and meet beautiful, lovely people like you.
You know, the last time when we had this conversation, and I could not wait to have this podcast and interview, because to be honest, you are just really getting into the realm of the exact problems that so many of us are having in this moment in time, being moms, being working figures in the corporate side, and then raising children and making sure that everything's in place. Tell me, how did your journey begin in the family constellations, in the general healing industry?
So, I've always been someone that's been extremely sensitive, and I pick up all of the sensitivities of people around me. And that made me wonder most of my life, why am I picking all of these things up? And so it led me to a few places in my life where I ended up in a massive panic attack and a few places that didn't feel well. And that's when my journey began to go and question, get curious about, and generally to get better. And so what followed after that was a complete and utter unpacking, unfolding, a lot of pain surfacing, and we are here today.
You know, I want to know how important it is for each one of us to recognize this this issue that once solved can actually heal, like, everything that we have around us, because people don't take it seriously.
So if we're going to look at it from a systemic point of view, from a constellations point of view, we all come from families. We were all raised in families. And for those whose cultures are very imprinted on them, on their family script, it even adds a more of an impact on how they're modeled, how they turn out. And being aware of your family dynamic, being aware of how your parents were raised and how it impacted you, how your ancestors survived and how it's still impacting you today, being aware of where you're stuck in life, where you can't move forward but you really want to, what you're carrying on behalf of your ancestors and your parents, what you want to resign from, the roles that you may have been given that are too much for you. That all helps you kind of become undone. So if you're like this, it helps you become undone. And what I aim to do with all my clients is help them become disentangled, unentangled, while remaining in a healthy way within the family structure.
Amazing. And how is this family constellation therapy different from the traditional aspect?
So what happens in family constellations therapy is we look at the client from a systemic lens. So when the client shows up, they are representing two systems, the system of their father, the system of their mother.
Right.
And so we start to see how the systemic lens around them, how the systems they come from have impacted them, have shaped them, have kept them stuck. Their loyalties, their love to their system has kept them stuck, and they haven't been able to find their own voice, their own way in life, their own passions. And then we start to help the client. In my opinion, family constellations therapy or generational healing therapy is a huge chapter for anyone who's on their journey of healing and getting to know themselves and their patterns.
And how do you think now that this helps you become more emotionally sound and regulated? I think this is something so profound, and what you have said resonates because um, it it makes a lot of sense, and it actually, like, it's putting the pieces together. How do you feel, or how would I feel emotionally?
So it all depends on who you are emotionally and how your system was able to offer you regulation, support when you became emotional. So if somebody does show up, one of my clients, for example, and there's someone that's always worked up, that gets always very triggered, that's always explosive, then we start to investigate at home, were you given permission to have emotions? Was your mother given permission to have emotions? When you had emotions, were you able to have them in a safe place? Were you supported? Were you helped in regulating yourself?
Right.
And a lot of people, this is a new language, new questions that are coming up that they've never heard before.
Absolutely.
And if you're someone that's extremely emotional, for example, a client would show up who's very emotional towards her husband, who's very blaming, very judgmental. So then we start to investigate, how was your mother with your father? Was she passive? And if your mother was passive, did you carry her aggression? Did you carry her pain? Did she have room to have these conversations with your husband, with your father? And so the client may be very potent with her husband, and it may not necessarily be applicable to the situation that she's in. So then we would do a constellation. It would be either one-on-one or in a group. And we would set up, and the client would be able to see, oh gosh, I'm carrying a lot of my mother's unexpressed emotions.
Absolutely.
All out of love and loyalty. As children are the most loyal people in the system. And they show you where the dysfunction is. And so we're children of parents, our parents are children of our grandparents, and it goes all the way behind.
Yes. And I think as children, we're like a sponge, right? We're absorbing all these vibes. But we're not contemplating how it is making an impact. And no one is there to guide us, because our parents, I feel, maybe at that point in time, were in their own situation, which we can't, hold them accountable for, because we don't know what. But it is now in our hands to fix ourselves, right? To take the matter in our own hands and to seek professional guided help.
Yes. The generations of, I would say, my age and younger are lucky in that aspect, as they have so much available to them to go and investigate and be held in a safe space and address where things may have been broken, to bridge back together where things have not been looked at. Whereas I would say my parents' generation did not have much of a available to them in that aspect. They may have had more community available to them, more traditional, cultural, perhaps religious tools available to them. The younger generations have got, as we're going forward, as there is so much knowledge, as just so much available to us that they can tap into and tweak and be able to address.
And Nada, you have been living in different countries, and you've been in the UK, you've been in the West, you've been in the Middle East. So how do you feel like, is there a resistance towards finding that healing, or how is the culture different here towards?
So I would say one of the most things that I've noticed in working in the Middle East for a decade now is people are very private. As in the Middle East, we come from cultures where everyone knows everyone.
Mm-hmm.
And they really value doing their healing in a private space. And so a lot of what I offer is one-on-one. And I also noticed that people have been conditioned not to share their deepest pains, their struggles. They've been conditioned to show up in a mask and say, I'm fine, everything's okay, it's all great. Whereas really, when the masks come off, we're all the same. We're all human, we're all living a human complex life. We all have very similar struggles as human beings for different circumstances in our lives. And that I noticed on a very big scale in working in these parts of the world. And so I always really reassure the client when they show up that obviously it comes with the package of working in this field, that everything stays in this room, nothing leaves, and more reassurance of even if I see you outside of this space, we don't have to say hello, your privacy is kept intact. You can introduce me as anybody. I don't have to be introduced as your facilitator or your therapist. And so with time, it gives the safety for the client's nervous system to be able to trust more, to feel safer,
Yes.
to address deeper.
Phenomenal. The way that you have just made this for all of us to understand is so, is so real. Because if, for instance, as parents, we are able to seek the right guided help from the authentic practitioner, and I know you personally, and it's just so amazing what you're doing. Our children are going to feel our positive energy, and they are going to benefit, and they are going through foundation blocks of their learning life and personality. So imagine if they're absorbing some kind of disorder coming from us. It's a disaster for them unconsciously.
Yes, yes, true. Children don't do as you say, they do as you do. So when the children watch what's happening around them in their family of origin at home, they absorb it a lot more than you saying, sit down, do it this way, this is how we do it, that's how it's done. So how we model that, and also children sense into what's not being said, what's not being addressed.
Yes.
And so as a parent, most parents will show their children everything's okay, but the children will sense into the festering, will sense into their father's struggles or their mother's pain. And what they will do, and children are very, very clever with their sensitivity, they will make a contract and say, Mom, I'll carry this on your behalf. Or Dad, I'll share your frustrations with you. Because they can't really voice, but it will be like, okay, he's struggling, she's in pain, let me carry this for them, out of all the love and loyalty that they have for their parents. And they will take with them into adulthood, and that they will take with them into their relationships, if they choose to get into relationships, and into their family structure,
Yes.
if they choose to build a family. And so that's what we address, look at, give back, hand back, undo, and help the client become themselves fully. And most people don't know who they are.
Right.
They just know the script that was given to them when they were born into their family, their country, their culture, their religion.
Exactly. I'm just loving every minute of as we are going deeper into this. I want to ask, like, what is the reaction from your clients when you help them unravel all of these, you know, skeletons from the closet, or like how is it, how is the change and the transition and the feeling that they receive after, getting your sessions?
That's a really good question. Thank you, Samira. Um, it depends, each client. I see most of my clients, 80% are female and 20% are male. A lot of them start to learn to place healthy, strong boundaries. They start to learn to say no and be convinced with saying no and not feel guilty with saying no.
Yes.
A lot of them start to learn that they actually have a voice. A lot of the people that I see forgot they had a voice. And so what I see unfolding, happening, transitioning, embodying in my clients is more of a sense of their own authority, their own independence, trusting their word when they say something, trusting themselves to follow through, even though there may be resistance from those around them.
Absolutely. Yes.
I would say one of my teachers taught me this, and she said, when you sit with the client and there is a movement that you have to attend to in the session, is that a movement to empower the client, or is that a movement to disempower the client? And most of the times when someone shows up to the rooms that we sit in, they're already feeling stuck, drained, tired, a lot of loss of life, not much energy. And so we help them pick up their power, get their power back slowly, bit by bit. And sometimes, most of the times, I get very happy when I see a client and I've seen them for a couple of years and I see them outside and they haven't come back. And I say, wow, that's great. You know, they've taken charge. They
Yes.
don't need to come back.
You've given them the ammunition.
I've helped them find their own ammunition within themselves. Not even ammunition, I've helped them find their own source of life energy, their own direction. It's all in us. I'm just sitting here holding the space and just helping them see the picture of what is happening in their family and where they may be stuck.
And you know, it's something that is, like you said, generational, and it's complex, and it's not easy. It's not easy to navigate what seems to be the underlying cause. It requires a lot of, you know, it needs someone. This is what I think is so important. Like you said, you are happy to see them go. Like, you know, now they're ready to take on the realms of life. A lot of sometimes practitioners, they keep them stuck, or they disempower them and make them feel more helpless, you know. I mean, I know from a few friends of mine and their experiences that they just feel more complicated and confused. So this is so important to go to the right you know, guided person and practitioner to give you those valuable, authentic tools to be on their own.
That's a valid point. What I always tell a lot of my friends or and clients, even with the reference to going to a yoga class, you may walk in, you may not click with the practitioner who's leading the class, who has many people who clicks with them, and that doesn't mean for you to stop going to yoga. It just means that it didn't work for you, that specific person that was teaching. And I've realized in life there is no one size fits all. You know, I may not be the right fit for somebody that comes to see me, and I may be the right fit for those that do come and do stay. And it's the same with other practitioners. It's a trial and error. There's no, if it didn't work with this therapist, if it didn't work in this field, and there are so many modalities, then who's to say it's not going to work there? For some people, they need to go to nature and do a hardcore training, and they need to wake up at 5 a.m. and do hikes, and that may be their healing. For others, they need to go to talk therapy and get really deep within their feelings and
Absolutely.
and address them and name them. So, like I said, there's no one size fits all, and that's one of the biggest realizations I had in this field. There is no one size fits all.
Absolutely. So, what advice would you give to someone who is looking into their family history and want to come to you, and you know, and are ready and have understood that, you know, they want to take that that beautiful journey towards themselves?
Good question. I would say get curious. Get curious about the roles that you are participating in within your family of origin. So if you are the middle child or the eldest child, are you only in the position of the eldest child in the family? Or are you making yourself, or have you been given the role of being a surrogate mother to your younger siblings? Or have you been given the role of being the caretaker of your parents? It's fantastic to take care of your parents while knowing your place as the eldest child, while only staying in your place. I would say, sit with yourself and see, am I feeling empowered to go out into the world and face my future? Or am I just looking behind me and looking at my parents and my ancestors, and I'm not really facing my future? So it's even a positioning. You know, one of the lines that we use in sentences that we say a lot of very simple yet extremely healing sentences in systemic work. And one of them is, we get the client to turn around from looking behind them to looking in front of them and just saying, bless me, mother, bless me, father, for having the courage to do it differently than you. I turn to face my future while knowing that you're all behind me, supporting me. And so that just, you've got the future. You're not looking in the
Right.
past.
You're not stuck.
And at the same time, you're paying tribute to your ancestors. You bow to their journey. They've had to survive atrocities. They've had to survive wars. Some have had to survive famine. And for them to survive, for you to be here.
Yes. My God, now that you have just taken me in such a beautiful space where I can actually understand the importance, like, don't we all want our children to step up more than us? Like, what we give, I mean, what is our expectation, or what is the legacy that you're leaving? Is that they get the best from you, and then they take this higher, they to a, higher goal. And that is exactly what, this is like strengthening family ties. And at the same time, there's so many healings from this
From
whole.
just that, absolutely. So, as mothers who have children, do we give our children permission to be happier than us? Does their father give them permission to be happier than them? And most of the time, yes, we aspire for them to be happier, to be in better places than us, but people don't know how to say it. And as parents, we're just here, we're in this generation being their support, like the pillows and the chair behind us. And to give them that reassurance, go out into the world, you are free to do what you want, and I aspire to see you in the best form of yourself, and I'm here holding the space for you, and you can lean into me. Some families, some dysfunctional patterns that play out in
Yes.
families is, no, you can't go. No, you have to stay. No, you're not allowed to be happier than your mother and your father and your grandparents. No, we had to survive, and therefore you have to be in survival. You're not allowed to thrive. And so it's changing the narrative and passing that on to, as you said, legacy for mothers. You can thrive, you can be happy. I wish for you to be happier than me.
Yes.
And not necessarily saying that the generations that say you have to survive, and because we survived, you're not allowed to be happy. They just didn't get to experience thriving.
Exactly. Exactly. And see, that is their issue. But the reason why you are here is to make your own legacy, to create your own unique human being, and to better yourselves. And how are you finding it? This is my next question, Nada. Like, you are a wonderful, homemaker. Now you've come into the wellness industry, and, you've been practicing this for such a long time.
Thank you.
How do you balance all these relations? Isn't it like, I mean, I feel burnout so many times, and I know how you were relaxing me, and we had, that session. So what is your secret?
So, Samira, I wouldn't say there's a secret answer to balancing. Just like you, I'm having a complex human experience too. I would say, what tools help you regulate your nervous system? And can you catch yourself before you get to that point of burnout? Before we get to burnout, there is like at least 3 stages we go through. We're like, okay, I'm feeling my breath is restricted, feeling a bit tired, I need rest. That's before we even get there. So how fast, this is one of my personal ways of figuring out how healing has helped me. It's how fast can I come back to being regulated after I became dysregulated. And as humans, we will be dysregulated. How fast can I catch myself? How fast, what tools do I have for myself that I can just, breath work, time out, quiet time, as I tell my family. I say it in a funny way because my children or my brother would be like, quiet time? Okay, we'll leave you to it. But that I use for me personally. Other people might need to go for a swim, or they might need to go to the gym.
Yes.
Or they might need to, have a gossip session with their girlfriends or their mother. How fast can you come back to regulate your nervous system? And what does that look like? And what tools work for you?
Amazing. I want to repeat what you said. How to regulate your nervous system before you hit burnout.
How to catch yourself before you're getting there. So as humans, we know we're tired. We know we're in a productivity culture that's pushing us to do and do and do. And we have a choice at any point in time to say, well, actually, I don't want to get sick. actually, I think that's going to lead me down a road that's not very pleasant. Even though, you know, some people want to impress others and keep going and keep going. Okay, maybe I can slow down here. What days can I take off? Now I need to be away from social media. Now I need to be away from socializing. And what is it that
Yes.
you do that gets you to come back to being regulated? For some people, it's spending Saturday doing their laundry and cleaning the house and getting their shopping and cooking. And that's just your basic, beautiful
Hmm.
things that you do in life, but that just, you know, gets your space to feel comfortable for you and your body gets to regulate. You're away from the screens, you're away from meetings, you're away from the phones.
Absolutely. And I want to add something here. We are so programmed, or not all of us, but some, by looking at our mothers, and we saw them doing so much, you know, selflessly. And I don't know if that is a very good precedence for us, but it sometimes go overboarding, like overboard, because you see them, you know, consumed over and just to make sure that everything outside is intact.
That's a very nice question. A lot of women, and this is it's collective.
Hmm.
Women have been trained to abandon themselves, abandon their needs, in honor of serving the family, in honor of giving back, in honor of
Yes.
raising children and supporting their partners. And I would also, you know, I don't want to make this only about women. Men have been also raised to show up, be strong, don't go into your feelings. You know, you can't crumble. You have to look after your family. You have to earn money. You have to support the family. So the collective male and the collective female have both been raised in a way where parts of themselves need to be abandoned.
Hmm.
And as you said, mothers, we've watched mothers abandon themselves, their needs, and they get very tired at a young age. And some mothers, you know, get resentful they didn't get to live their dreams, they didn't get to
Of
have
course.
their careers.
Yes.
And that in a way, of course, we can't undo the past, but that in a way places a burden on the next generation. You know, you have a mother that was longing to be a fashion designer or was longing to be a doctor. And so her unlived dream gets to be the burden of her children. And so one of the children may say, well, I don't really want to be a designer, but I'm going to be because it feels very alive in me, more than me investigating what I actually want to do. And that's that child saying, don't worry, mom, I will live your dream for you through me. And they may be extremely successful, or it may be a flop and they may have to start up again doing what they actually love.
Right. Yes. So true. So true. I 100% agree with you. And it's such an eye opener because the children sometimes unconsciously take it on themselves. And what is the advice that you want to give to today's, you know, audience who's watching and people who can come to you? And what is it that is so important they should do to, formulate themselves, becoming a better version of themselves?
So I would be more generous in rewording the question. We are all the best version of ourselves where we are in this space and time.
Beautiful.
Because most people, you know, show up with the best that they can do for themselves right now.
Mm-hmm.
So how can we aspire to be the versions that we envisage ourselves being? It would be consistency. It would be constantly building community and relationships around you where you can be yourself 100%.
Yes.
I watched, I don't know who it was, but it was a very profound video that I watched, and it said, what is your definition of a good person?
Mm-hmm.
And it really stuck with me. And the person who was doing the video, I forgot the name. He said, I would define a good person with who they are at home in the space where they can be themselves 100%, and how comfortable are the people around them.
Yes.
So not how they show up in a boardroom, not how they show up at lunch, not how they show up in a function, but how they show up at home and how comfortable are those that are around them in their home, when you don't have to be nice, you don't have to cater to anyone's needs, but who are you at home with those that you don't have to wear a mask with? And how can you aspire to be a leader in that place,
Beautiful.
a wise person in that place?
My God, yes.
For you and for those around you.
Absolutely. I think it is so true because and the kind of vibe and the atmosphere that you are maintaining with your presence in that space for others, to be their best version.
Yeah.
Because sometimes I feel like this is 100% your success depends on, the kind of peace that is there for you to thrive and level up.
What level of safety do you offer to your closest people? And that would go back to how safe are you in your own nervous system? How safe are you in your body? And how much have you attended to, if you've had traumas, if you've had experiences in life that we've all had experiences in life. Look at the two of us. We're not part of this land. We're not from Dubai yet. We've been hosted to be here in this beautiful land. And we've had to come to different places in life to experience a safer life.
Yes.
So how safe does your nervous system feel for you? How safe do you feel in your body to create that for those around you?
Absolutely. And now that I don't know how to I'm just so much, trying to love you by sharing all of this with the audience because
Thank you.
I think, all your years of research and, practical experience with clients and everything. And it's so important. One thing that I loved what you said is, how are you going to create that safe space if you feel shaky?
Yes.
And I feel each one of us has been going through and is experiencing this, and it's so normal and natural to feel and do something about it.
Yeah. We have options.
Right.
We're not as we're not as stuck as we think we are. But most people, when they are in that space of feeling extremely stuck and don't have options, I mean, I can't really judge. Each circumstance has its own circumstances. Some people might come from extremely abusive backgrounds and they might have had to go through atrocities. And there's a moment in time where you get this aha moment where you think, oh, it may be different for me than my parents, than my ancestors. It may be different.
Absolutely. What have you learned about yourself sometimes when you are with clients and you're has it helped you become a better version, or have you seen that transition of change? What is it that you know
I always feel very privileged to sit with a client and get to hear the transparency of who they really are. It's a gift, and I honor that. What is it? What have I learned about me? You learn a lot about yourself when you sit with clients, and you learn. Well, for me personally, I've learned that we're all human, and the struggles of my clients, I may have struggled with them before, or I'm struggling with them alongside. Yeah, I've learned quite a lot through stories, and when a client comes in and I see their strengths and I see their weaknesses and I see how they've surpassed them, it strengthens me.
Yes, it's your triumph.
It strengthens me. I look at my client and I think, wow, you've been through that and you're supporting this and you're doing that and you're telling me this, and to me it feels like this community that we're all supporting each other and helping each other.
Yes, absolutely. Do you also feel like nothing is impossible? I mean, if someone has gone through difficult times or, inevitably like exceptionally hard situations, and can they recover from that?
There's no one size fits all. Loss is very difficult to recover from. wars are very difficult to recover from. Illnesses, a loss of a child, a loss of a parent, a partner. So how do we help a client continue in life in a healthy way?
Yes.
That would be the best answer for that. There's life before what happened, and then there's life after what happened. And how can I continue life after what happened and stay healthy while mourning the loss of what did happen?
Absolutely. And I think that, like, the, because I feel life is always showing us the impossible and how you can come from all these adversities and be a new person. I think we become a new person after some time. And what I really feel is, and I think you can get off of medication, prescription, or however difficult a situation is, by proper practitioners taking you in their under their wing. You can absolutely make bouts of change in
Absolutely.
yourself.
Absolutely. I mean, I wouldn't discount the traditional, the conventional medical field. It helps save lives. And alongside that, the healing aspect, the complementary field of medicine, which is attending to your emotional well-being, your spiritual well-being, your mental well-being, your physical well-being, your environment, that plays the biggest part in life. There's the book by Gabor Mate,
I love him.
Myth of
Yes.
Normal. He said that a lot of people, you read the obituaries and you would read that this woman lived a fantastic life. She came from a great family. She was part of a charity. She did so much for the community. But she ended up dying early with an illness. So she was stretching herself. She didn't tell people her feelings. She didn't tell her family that she was tired. And so your emotional, spiritual, mental, physical, energetic well-being is a massive impact on your life.
On your health and your longevity, and oh my
Absolutely.
God.
Absolutely.
So that is so beautifully pointed out, that so many of people are suffering in silence, and they don't seek professional help at the right time, and it's too late. And we should feel fortunate to have such beautiful support systems and communities. And in Dubai, I feel that it's a beautiful melting pot where you can really like feel safe, because we're all away from our families, but we need the right support groups.
Yes, this is the longest I've spent in Dubai. This past 3-4 months, I've been in and out. And the Dubai I knew when I used to come here with my family is partying, going out, being invited to different functions. And living here in Dubai and spending a lot more time in normal day life, I realized that there's a part of it that's very spiritual, that's quiet, that you can get into communities that look like you and mirror you. And there are a lot of communities right now in Dubai of health, healing, support. And it's not necessarily the other side of, partying and holiday, which,
Yes.
not to discount any of it, but you can find belonging where you find yourself. And that does exist here in this country.
Absolutely. Tell me, like, how can people connect with you? So if I want to book a session, if you can share your social link here. I mean, it's going to be in the captions as well. So and normally, like, how long does it take for someone to feel renewed, regenerated?
It depends how long, on how much pain they're carrying and how much they've suffered and how much they long for change.
Yes.
As I say the word to you, long, it's how deep it is, that need and that longing. Some people might show up and they're in their head and they're thinking, oh, let me try this session, it might change me. It's not like you're putting a nail varnish color on your nails, but somebody will show up and say, I really need to change this. I can't do this anymore. And so they will be a lot more open to investigating how they can change things in their life. To contact me, I have a page on Instagram, solo de nada, Gmail, solodenada@gmail.com, my email. And they would have also on the Instagram page, there's a WhatsApp that you can contact me. I am operating in different centers in Dubai. I also operate with a center in the UK, online worldwide, and of course in Lebanon as well. I operate there.
And I feel that an in-person session, I mean, if you can be in person, that is the best thing. You know, I mean, of course, we're lucky to have the privilege of an online facility as well. But how do you find the people in Dubai? Like, what do you feel? oh, I mean, not just Dubai, but what is the missing link? What do you think is so important for people to embrace nowadays?
How is taking the time between adapting a concept mentally, and we've been trained with now with AI and productivity culture and the social medias to be in our heads, taking the time to integrate whatever idea, whatever healing you've gone through, whatever experience you've gone through, and embody it. And how much time can you give yourself to do something and embody it, to do something and embody it? Because the more you embody something, you'll be a living example of it.
Right.
You know, you can adapt a concept in your head. You can say, okay, I'm this, I'm that. But are you a living example of the I am, I am, I am?
Right. And always to check in with yourself and see that, you know, am I consistent with what I really want to be? You know, many times we aspire and we want and just want a quick fix, but it's not a quick fix.
It's all here.
Yes.
So I want, I need, I should, I must, I have to. It's all here. I am, I am, I am, I am. I choose to. I get to. I get to.
Exactly. I get to wake up every day. I get to live a healthy life. It's just the mindset.
It's a mindset, and it's a commitment, and it's consistency.
Right. And we're humans to falter from the right path. I mean, otherwise we're not angels, right?
No.
And it is normal to validate that. Okay, you know what? I need the right help. I need the right counseling to put myself on track, so I can be healed and I can be a source of energy for everyone around.
Absolutely.
Wow, Nada, I think this has been such a profound session, and
Thank
I
you.
think we should have another one soon. And I can't wait to share this episode with you guys. And I myself, I'm feeling so light. Thank you so much.
I'm glad. Thank you, Samira. Thank you for
And
hosting me.
you are a real source of inspiration and a
Thank you.
true source of light. And we've shared such amazing. Nada has shared the most amazing insights.
Thank
So I would love to have you back. Thank you so much.
Thank you for the work you're doing to spread the word. Thank you.
Thank you for all the motivation and love. See you all next time, and thank you again.